to order. The following statement will first be read. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and his March 15th order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Town of Burlington's Conservation Commission is being conducted through remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to or view this meeting while it is in progress may do so by tuning into the BCAT Government Cable Access Channel or the BCAT Government Meetings Facebook Live feed, or you can join the meeting over the phone at 408-418-9388. It's meeting number 129-246-8069. To join the WebEx Live video conference, click on the link on the Conservation Commission's meeting page or go to the Town of Burlington's calendar. You click on the Conservation Commission for today's date and pull up the agenda. Or you can go to the webex.com, join a meeting app, and the meeting number is 129-185-2367, and the password, if needed, is listed on the screen. New public hearings open tonight will not be closed so as to allow comments from those who are unable to access or are uncomfortable with this technology. Comments and concerns regarding public hearings, or if you require further information on any item on the agenda, should be emailed to conservation@burlington.org before the next meeting on next week, February 25th. Okay.
In case anybody was confused by the meeting numbers, the ones that were written appeared in writing were correct.
Okay, the ones that you sent to us.
Well, the one I just showed on the screen.
Oh, not the one you sent to us by email.
Yes, it should have been the same.
All right, because the one that you sent to us by email, at least the one I have, says the next meeting is September 10th. That means we have a long vacation in front of us. Okay, so much for that. All right, so the first item after calling the meeting to order is a roll call attendance. I will call, signify if you are present or online by saying aye or present. Don Bernstein. He seems to be absent. Gail Lima.
Here.
Indra Deb.
Here.
Boyven.
Here.
Jennifer O'Riordan.
Here.
Edlo Turco.
Present.
And myself, the chair, Larry Cohen, is present. Associate Commissioner Kent Moffett, is he online?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good to see you. Or hear you, I guess. Administrator John Keeley.
I'm here.
Associate Administrator Eileen Coleman.
Here.
All right, so on the agenda for tonight, item number 6 has been continued until February 25th. It's the continued public hearing, notice of intent for 174 Middlesex Turnpike 2 and 4 4th Ave by the Nordblum Development Company. It's the construction of a multifamily residential building, DEP file number 122-653. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is citizens' time. I understand somebody is here for that, so you can start talking, unmute yourself, start talking, and first introduce yourself and where you live.
Excuse me, Larry, I think she said she was actually here for item number 5.
Oh, number 5.
Is that not correct? It was Florence Leone, right?
She mentioned Erin Lane.
Am I considered as a citizen for this meeting?
Pardon me?
She's saying number 5.
Yeah. Is there anyone else here for citizens time?
I'm Ron Borganti. I'm not part of the your conservation commission, but I have item 5 in agenda. I'll talk.
That's
about
fine. That's fine. We're just asking for citizens time now. So
Thank
we'll be on number 5 in a few minutes.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So the record should show no one is here for citizens time. Item 3 on the agenda is the approval of minutes for January 28th, 2021. Are there any comments or items for discussion? I have one very small one. Anyone else?
I have nothing.
Okay, under the 174 Middlesex Turnpike item, there's one of the bullets that talks about appreciation was given for cleaning up the tires and snowmobile tires along the trail. I would just say appreciation was given from the commission to Nordblum Company. Okay, say from and to, and then when it says they cleaned up tires and snowmobile along, I guess you could put in the Kent Road Trail. People, if anybody reads it, they'll know what was being talked about, I think, unless someone has a better way of expressing it. That's all I have. Any further comments on the minutes? All right, hearing none. Could I have a motion to approve the January 28th, 2021 minutes of the Burlington Conservation Commission?
So moved, Gail.
Second, Ed.
All right. Dawn is still not here, I guess, so we'll go to Gail. How do you vote?
Yes.
Indra?
Abstain.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Abstain.
Okay. Ed?
Yes.
Okay, the chair votes yes. We have 6 people, so that's 5-0-1 vote. It carries. All right. Next on the agenda, 2 requests for certificate of compliance. Item 4A.
Mr.
One is a
Chairman,
request. Yes.
I think it was a 402. Jennifer and Indra both abstained.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Dawn, right?
Yep, that's me.
Dawn,
That's why Dawn's
thank
minutes are
you
so
very-
good.
Thank you very much, Dawn, for being observant. Okay, that was a 4-0-2. Indra, I didn't hear you abstain. I thought you said yes. All right. Next, item 4A, request for certificate of compliance, return of surety, 174 Middlesex Turnpike, 2nd and 4th Avenue, Nordblum Development Company, DEP file number 122-575. Is there anyone on the line for that? All right. John or Eileen, do you have any comments?
So this is a certificate of compliance for a project. Mr. DePietro was here for this, I believe. But this
Sure,
is
yep, I'm here.
This is for a project that was never constructed. So both this and the next request for certificate are just to close out files for projects that were never done. So this was a proposed office building at 174, the same site where you have a current ongoing public hearing for the multifamily housing. We really should have closed that out first, but we're just sort of doing it after the fact, so that we don't get 2 approved permits for the same site.
And then just to clarify that the driveway that goes to Lifetime Athletic right now from 4th Avenue, that was part of this project that was under this order of conditions. Obviously, there's going to be a building next to it and stuff like that, but the driveway itself was built. It's shown on the as-built plan that you have for the current 4th Avenue residential project. It was built according to the plan. It didn't impact any of the resource areas. It was outside of them, outside of the floodplain. It was built according to the plan. So that was the only work that was done. And then we stopped because we didn't have a tenant for the office.
Okay. John, is there any issue, any problem with issuing the certificate then
No, none at
on
all.
this? All right, could I have a motion from the commission to issue the certificate of compliance and for 174 Middlesex Turnpike, Nordblum Development Company, DEP file number 122-575.
So moved, Indra.
Second.
Bill.
All right, so Gail, how do you vote?
Yes?
Indra,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Ed?
yes,
Chair votes yes, 600. That certificate is issued. John, is there surety that has to be handled tonight?
You know, I don't think that no, because they never sought building permits. I don't think that they gave us a bond. That road was built because they were building Lifetime at the same time. So they never gave us a bond for this project.
All right, so we can move on. All right. Next is the request for a certificate for 60 Blanchard Road, Nordblum Company, DEP file number 122-565. Are there any comments from anyone?
So this is the same deal. So this was not Nordblum. Nordblum owns it now. It was Jam Holdings, John Marshall's company. That was got the order of conditions to tear down their existing building and building a new office building. Once again, that project was never done. While there was an order of conditions, there was some site work done. They removed an old septic system, which we allowed because it was within the limit of work for a site that already had an order of conditions. But other than that, there was none of the work in the order was done.
Right.
And once again,
All right.
no bond was submitted.
Got it. All right, could I have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 60 Blanchard Road, which is requested by Nordblum Company, DEP file number 122-565.
Move, Bill.
so move,
Second? Was that seconded?
yes,
Okay. All right, Gail, how do you vote on this certificate?
Yes.
Indra,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Ed,
yes,
and the chair votes yes. It passes by a vote of 600. Certificate is approved. All right, next, we're on item 5.
Okay.
This is a
Thank you,
discussion.
folks. Thank you, folks. Appreciate your time. So
Thank you, Frank.
would they all be this easy, but thanks.
Yeah.
Take
Thank
care.
you, Frank. Nice to see you.
We'll see you. We'll see
Bye.
you next time, Frank.
We'll be there soon.
All right, so the item 5 is a discussion, Sawmill Brook Conservation Area access from Erin Lane. All right, John, would you like to first introduce it, and then I'll call on people to probably in the audience to talk for the sake of discussion.
John, you're muted.
Still muted, John.
I think he's trying to share a screen, but there's a issue, John. We can't see your screen, nor you, nor.
John, you want me to share? John, you're muted. Will I share the Erin Road stuff? Okay, I think, okay.
I think Mr. Keeley got stuck. All right, John, can you unmute now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So that's not what I was trying to share, though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But that's okay. I was doing the GIS, which with the aerial photo, but so we got a request from a resident to to do access, to have access to the Sawmill Brook Conservation Area from Erin Lane. The Conservation Commission owns a parcel that's about 30 feet wide, that goes from Erin Lane to the Sawmill Conservation Area. It's entirely within a gas easement, and were you able to do that? Eileen?
Want it back? I don't have GIS, but I can
Oh, okay.
share what I was.
Oh, I was just doing, okay. So anyway, after I'm done talking, I'll try sharing again. So anyway, that's the deal. So the Conservation Commission owns a parcel. It's part of our conservation area. We don't use it. And at least one resident has requested that we put in a trail. And we did send out a copy of the agenda to the direct abutters.
Okay, would we, well, let me ask you this, John. First of all, could you characterize the nature of, it's a 30-foot wide trail from the street into the pipeline access easement, I guess, and could you characterize is there resource areas or anything you want to say about the trail itself, about the property?
Sure. So at the rear of the parcel, or maybe directly behind it on the actual conservation land, it gets fairly wet, and it'll require probably some sort of at least a bog bridge or something like that, because it gets pretty wet at times of year. I think the area closer to Erin Lane, between Erin Lane and the where it widens out into the full conservation area, may be landscaped by some of the adjacent abutters. Unfortunately, it's snowy now, so I wasn't really able to get a good look at it. But from aerial photos, it looks like there could be a little encroachment from the neighbors.
Yeah,
Right.
it's definitely lawn. There could be some landscaping as well, and that part of the trail, or that part of the property, I shouldn't call it a trail, is very wet. And in fact, when some trail work was done in the past, recent past by the Boy Scouts, they actually rerouted part of the trail that comes from Mill Street and heads to, heads up the gas line or across to Fox Hill, because it was so wet. And part of that wetness is because it's at the bottom of the hill, but part of that was because of rutting that was caused by ATVs in the past.
All right, and I don't know if, let me see if anybody can click on my name or not and expand it. I have a, this is a picture of what it looks like. But I don't know if anybody can actually enlarge it with someone sharing a screen.
Can you see what I'm sharing now?
Yes.
I mean, I can stop sharing. You can see what it looks like. I can stop so you can hold up yours. So this is the parcel right here, 91090. So
Right.
that's conservation land. So I'm going to stop sharing now so you can hold up your.
Yeah, I have two pictures that I've captured that might be useful. One is this one.
If you go to the stage setting on the layout, you can see Larry's picture.
Oh, okay.
Looks like there's a boat on the trail.
That is not our boat.
Now I'd like to put up.
It is wet back there, but it's not that wet.
Yeah, I'd like to put up a second one. This is a little bit grainier because I just expanded it a little bit. This is looking up into it. It did expand the boat, but it's not meant to do that. It's just the way I expanded the picture. You can see the trail further up the easement. Okay, so I guess in order to discuss this further, first, let me ask the commission, do you have any other preliminary comments Or if not, if you defer from that, we'll go back to you. I'd like to then go to people who are in the audience who would like to say a few words. Anybody in the commission like to say a few words about this subject before we move on to more in-depth discussion?
This is Bill.
Yeah.
I have walked that trail numerous times. I usually go in from Fox Hill School area. And I have on several occasions wished that the trail went down to Erin Lane because it would make a nice circle for me to go back home, and thought it did not. So it clearly was detrimental to my walk to not to be able to take that path, because I either had to go back the way I came or go a considerable distance around to Mill Street to make a much larger loop. So it would be good to have that trail clearly marked so that we could see what it is, that it is available.
All right, anyone else on the commission want to make a comment? We'll go back to you.
Well, I'll wait till, we hear from the people, the citizens here.
Okay, now that we've gone to the commission, I see Aram, would you like to make a comment first, and then
Yes.
I'll go to the other folks?
Yeah, this is, I'm Ram Bodaganti, and I'm living in Burlington since 1983. And because of this COVID, I've been walking the Fox Hill area and Erin Lane and other areas because walking is good and trails are good. And when I looked at it, I wanted to go from Erin Lane into the Fox Hill area, and I was not able to do that. Actually, I did it, but I felt intimidated because the neighbors, it looked like it's abutted by both sides of the neighbors. The whole land was landscaped and everything. I thought somebody might even kill me because who knows what's happening nowadays by walking through there, especially being Indian. And anyway, I don't want to get into that. But then I started talking to other kids around there, and they also tell me that there are lots of areas where you can walk and there are trails, but they are not really identified, or they have any signs in there. And we are in Burlington, and we don't have any other major things like bike path or other things. It's probably a good idea for Conservation Commission or town or anybody who can put good signs in the for conservation land so that people can really utilize the trails. I know I've been to Cummings Park. It's beautiful. There are lots of good trails, but they have the money and they could do it. I don't know whether you have enough funds to do that, but I strongly suggest as a citizen to think about putting the trails wherever Conservation Commission or town can put it. So this is one of them. I would like to see it as soon as possible.
All right, thank you, Ram, for your comments. All right, so I see Florence Leone, if that's pronounced correctly. You probably want to introduce yourselves and just state your address so we have it for the record, and then you're free to say whatever you want to say.
Okay. I'm Florence. This is my husband, David Leone. We live at 17 Erin Lane. So our house is across the street from that parcel of land. We've lived on Erin Lane since 1997. And because of COVID, we finally got out on the trail this past Easter. And it is lovely, but it is very wet. The neighbors don't mind if the neighbors of the two abutting properties, they don't mind. There are lots of people that cut through there and enjoy the trails, which is nice. I'm glad to hear that you want to do something with it, and I'm just here to see what it is that you're going to do. It is very wet. I'd like to see it graded. The first time we went out through the trails, we went with my daughter, who knew the trails because she had gone to Fox Hill and they had a field trip there. So she was able to guide us where to go without getting lost. But then when I went with my other daughter, we got lost because we couldn't figure out how to get from one place to another. We ended up in Wilmington over by the that new development. So yeah, I think signage with the trails would be fantastic. Yeah, so I'm in support of what you're doing. I'm just, here to listen to what it is that your plans are.
So I did have, I'm David, or Florence's husband. I'm just curious. I know this is preliminary and you may not have gotten this far, but what would be the intent on the parcel there? You kind of turn that into trail? You're just going to put signage up, or have you even gotten that far with discussion?
Yeah, as you said, sir, the discussion is premature. We haven't even got that far, but
Okay.
if you listen and or you want to talk a little bit more based on what you hear, we're going to have sort of a round table discussion and see what we have.
Okay.
All right. So is there anyone else in the audience for this? No. Okay. So that's the only citizen of Arlington we have. So why don't we go to Gail? I'll just call on you first. You have some comments you'd like to offer.
Sure. So I would bet on the commission, I probably know this trail the best because I abut it and have walked it for a long time. It's gotten great increased use since COVID. There are actually quite a few people that walk in there, which is great, and some snowshoeing now and so forth. There is signage on the trail that the Boy Scouts have put up. I think there's at different places along the trail. There's nothing at Erin Lane just because I think that trail was never developed, and I agree with the speaker that said that it's a little intimidating. I never felt worried about my personal safety or anything, but I never felt comfortable walking up there just because it is all manicured and there's no signage there, and I wouldn't want somebody walking through my yard, and so it always felt a little intimidating to myself as well. So I've never walked in that way. But it is very wet, and I wouldn't want to see any changes in kind of topography. I think what we would do if there was someone could do it, as John said, just a little bog bridge or something like that to get through the wet spot. I think just in general for the conservation trails on the sawmill area, because now the trail has been expanded, so that part of that trail system that you walk through is new. That was also created, I think, by the Boy Scouts, or at least the signage was, that goes, abuts that Wilmington development that comes back out on the Fox Hill School. I think all the areas, entrances, but also the areas that are kind of where there are entrances from Wilmington. So there are two that I know of, maybe three entrances from Wilmington. I think there should be signage there that states that it's conservation land, and also lists that there should be no motorized vehicles. Unfortunately, this winter again, somebody was in there driving around maybe 2 weeks ago, very late at night. I think it was an ATV. And they actually drove up the back of one of my neighbor's property. And then I think they realized there was a house there and then turned around. So that's an ongoing problem. But I think, if I know there's always a problem that we put the signs up and they get vandalized and taken down. But if we could maybe post the rules at every entrance, but also at the entrances on the Wilmington, on Burlington side, but where it abuts the Wilmington access, I think that would be helpful. But the more people that use the trail, the more eyes on the trail, that should help protect it, and it's a great resource. So I think that if we can identify that as a trail, so that people would use it, I think that's great. And any people in the neighborhood, if you see any kind of abuse of it, that would maybe be something that you could report to the town, to the conservation.
Gail, I have a question for you. What I heard you say is it would be useful on this site to post the rails and a sign that perhaps says the rules and a sign that also says trail access. Is there
Yeah,
any?
I think that especially a sign that says no motorized vehicles, it should be posted there, but it should be posted at every entrance point and at the entrance points that abut Wilmington, because some
Yeah,
of the stuff comes in from other towns.
And I heard you also say that perhaps, some type of very small boardwalks to get over the wet spots might be.
Yeah, yeah. And
And-
there are trail maps that the Boy Scouts put up that, if that could be put up at that trailhead, so people, knew which way they would go if they turned right or left on the trails, that would, I'm sure the Boy Scouts could do that. They could just print off the signs that they made already and that could get posted.
Just so everyone else has the benefit of the entire picture, I'll ask you one more question, Gail. Would you, as part of either our plans or our Boy Scout project, suggest like a post and rail fence to sort of define the walkway?
I think that's, that would probably be a great idea. Or, if right now it's all lawn, it could also be just a, kind of a gravel or, type of, wood chip type of path or something. I mean, I think that's fine. I don't know how wide that is and whether the post and rail would narrow it too much in terms of access, John. Is it wide enough to do that?
No, the access is 30 feet wide.
Just, something to show that it's a trail, I think, and to, to demarcate where people should be walking so they don't wander on other people's land. I'm sure the owners, the abutters would appreciate having like some type of fence, post and rail or something like that, or even just, rocks or something to demarcate it.
Okay, so either a gravel path or perhaps a post and rail setup. Okay. All right, so with that and those things mentioned, Indra, do you have a comment?
Yeah, actually, Gail said it all. What I was trying to say is definitely we need a sign at the entrance. And the other thing is, can we put some sort of post to discourage so that no vehicles can go, at least at the entrance somehow? Otherwise,
What would you put at the entrance?
Well,
some sort of
we're
post
not
in
going to
the.
get vehicles at that entrance.
Yeah,
There are several other places where vehicles are going to go in, but they're not going to come in off Erin Lane very likely.
I see. Okay.
We could think about a kissing gate. Eileen would know what that is, right?
Yeah.
The sheep, the things keep the sheep in.
Yes, all the entrances needs the signage, definitely. And
Okay.
And the demarcation because I see this 30-foot wide and so that someone doesn't go to somebody's lawn, that could
Right.
be problematic. So,
All right.
and of course,
So-
the board on the weight, this is weight. So on the weight path, if we can put some sort of board or something, which you suggested already.
All right, thank you, Indra. Bill, comments?
I agree. I think it should be a gravel entryway, a path. And I'm picturing a demarcation on the sides of something like landscape timbers or, raised up, maybe you see them like at the end of a parking space or something, just shin high, just a small natural looking landscape timber or something. We're not trying to keep people out like we would with a post and rail on a normal site that we discussed, but it would clearly mark it and it would be maintenance free once you put in a good solid landscape timber border. The signage would be great too.
All right, Jennifer, comments?
I don't have any further comments, but I think what everyone else has said is really great. I think it'll be a good trail once we get it all set up.
All right. Ed?
Pretty much going by what everybody's experiences are, so there's not much I can really add. I would say there was one thing on my mind as you guys were all talking. Elevation of signs, we've now gone through that kind of thing with the trustees in Cummings Park because of the vandalism, so we're now gonna raise them to like 10 feet. So these people just can't keep tearing these things down. They probably will find a way, but at least it'll deter them for a while.
All right, interesting suggestion. Thank you. Kent.
Hey, Ed, you could always electrify them.
All right, Kent, any comments at all?
I like Gail's suggestion on the last one. That's a good idea. But no, I agree with I've driven by there a couple times, and honestly, like I don't live in that area, but coming near it, I wouldn't even have known that was just like where it's marked. So I think like I agree with most people, and I think the comment about like something to reference vehicles staying out of there would be really good.
Okay, and let me before I go circle back to the visitors that are here. John, I have a question for you. Would you expect, based on our experience, that you'd see a lot of cars parked in the neighborhood at all?
No, this is a fairly small conservation area. People aren't going to be coming from out of town or anything to be hiking in this area. And there's other areas where you can park if you want to go to Sawmill and park. The Fox Hill School is probably where most people park and walk in. But we also have a trail access on Mill Street, Sawmill Road. But I would say most of the people who walk in this area probably come in from the Fox Hill School and park up there where there's plenty of parking.
And I would think that people who enter, people who are entering the trail at that point, it's almost like a neighborhood access.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
There are a lot of
Yeah.
people that enter from Mill Street, and also there are a lot of through bikers that kind of come from the reservoir and then go through there as part of their biking route.
All right. And we also, don't we have a similar type of thing, for example, on Chandler Road, a neighborhood access type of access, John?
Right, it's quite similar. Yeah. We just relocated as part of that project. We moved the trail. It's the same deal. It's just used by people in the neighborhood.
So John, related to that, did they this might not be the right time, but did I'll ask you later about that trail.
All right.
I have another question. Related to this. If we decided we would like to see this accomplished, funding for it, would that come out of existing budget, or would it have to be a warrant article in the next town meeting, or how would that work?
So, I mean, this is a much more
John?
advanced discussion than I had anticipated. I was sort of anticipating just the commission, giving, the thumbs up to exploring putting in a trail there. So I haven't given any thought whatsoever to that. However, if it were a scout project, there'd really be, the scouts actually raise all the money themselves to do a project. As far as signs go, we work with DPW. We put up no motorized vehicle signs at the Mill Pond, the Mill Ponds Conservation Area. The last summer, the summer before, we put in probably at least a dozen or 15 of them in various access points. And we got the DPW to actually not only make the signs, but they helped us install them.
So I just say if the Boy Scouts get involved with this project, maybe you can get them to move that one that they put on private land, the sign.
John, would you be in touch with whoever is the contact for the Boy Scouts? Or could you be in touch?
Yes.
Okay, assuming something's decided tonight. Okay. All right, I have two more comments then, that I called on everyone. And then I'll go circle back to anyone else. The first is, I just want to point out that in case anybody missed it, I said, but this is not an easement over somebody's property. This is actually land that is actually owned, I believe, by the town and perhaps by the Conservation Commission. Is that correct, John?
Yes, it's town land under the control, under the management of the Conservation Commission.
All right, so we're owners of that land. Okay. And the other is, I don't believe the abutters to that trail are here. They got the note that this was on the agenda, correct?
They were mailed a copy of the agenda, as were the Leonis.
All right.
So the
And the
people on
Leonis-
the people on either side and the people directly across the street, which is the Leonis. So they all get mailed the agenda.
Okay, so before we make any formal decision here, if we're thinking of making a vote, let me circle back to Ram. Ram, do you have any further comment on what you heard?
Just one second, I'm unmute. Yeah, first of all, thank you really very much, the Conservation Commission. Everybody is looking into that. I think it's good if we have all the signs in Burlington for these kind of things. I don't have any other comments, but I really appreciate you taking time and taking care of this. The only one thing I wanted to say is that if, I don't know what the real estate laws are, but if the lawn is moved between two properties, and if they own it after 15, 20 years, there is some law, it says they can own the land. Conservation Commission probably would lose the ownership if we don't have any signs.
So Larry, I would disagree with that. The law is referring to as adverse possession, and you can't, adverse possession doesn't pertain to public lands or municipal lands,
Okay.
just private land.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Okay, and then let me go to the Leonis. Do you have any further comment on what you've heard?
Basically, if you decide to go forward with this, we just hope that it'll be aesthetically pleasing, because both of the property abutters, they keep very well manicured lawns, and they take great pride in their property. And hopefully, I like the idea that Bill had to put the
Landscape timbers.
the landscape timbers and the gravel, because that'll keep the gravel from jumping out and getting caught under somebody's lawnmower, if you have the timbers. And Ram, I want you to feel welcome to walk that trail anytime. You'll be welcome.
Thank you. I really felt intimidated because
No, you shouldn't.
it's a well manicured lawn and other things.
Yeah,
So
no.
walking on it, didn't feel
People
like-
walk there all the time, and the neighbors are perfectly fine with it. In fact, when we walk, we cut through the neighbor's backyard because they have an access that we can bypass all the water.
Thank you very much, though. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I'm not inviting you to walk to do that, but you're
No,
welcome to.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, so thank you everyone for your comments.
So, thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you all for your comments. Now, I think would the commission be interested in voting a concept plan and then perhaps let our staff perhaps pursue it a little further to flush out the details? The concept plan, if you want to vote it, would be perhaps a gravel pathway, a marked gravel pathway with some slightly raised landscape timbers on each side. And it would incorporate some future construction of some boardwalks and appropriate signage as discussed regarding the rules of using conservation areas and a marked trail access. So I see that would be the concept. Would the commission be interested in making a motion to vote that as the concept that we've decided?
Yeah, I would. I think that describes exactly what I have in mind.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Gail? Second?
Second, Gail.
All right, anyone who want to make a comment on, I guess what I just said?
Good idea. Very good idea.
Okay, I saw Kent shake his head yes. He agrees with you. All right, so Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and this chair votes yes. That concept plan for the Sawmill Brook Conservation Area access from Erin Lane concept is approved by a vote of 6-0. Okay. So thank you all for participating, and we'll just move on with the meeting. Okay. So the next item on the agenda, we'll skip item 6. The next item is the continued public hearing we have on it for a notice of intent for
Excuse me,
the
Larry?
Redmond Street. Yes.
You can't just, you need to vote to continue item 6.
Oh, okay. Could I have a motion to continue item 6, which is the 174 Middlesex Turnpike and 2nd and 4th Avenue for the Nordblum Company construct multifamily residential building, DEP file number 120-53 to be continued until February 25th.
So moved it.
Second,
Second, Bill.
Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes by a vote of 6-0. The 174 Middlesex Turnpike project for the multifamily residential building is continued until February 25th. All right, now we'll move on. We'll do items 7, 8, and 9 together, which is a continued public hearing and notice of intent for the Redmond Street roadway, EP 122-646 for Redmond Street, EP 122-645, 5 Redmond Street for DEP 122-644. All three are continued public hearings put forth by Somerset Realty Trust. All right, who's, I can see a few folks here. Would someone start talking and introduce everyone?
Okay, for the record, my name is Mary Trudeau, and I'm representing the applicant on this proposal this evening. With me is David Romero, who is the project engineer, and I believe Phyllis Etzel is also on the call. She's representing Murray Hills or Somerset Realty. At our last meeting, which was several weeks ago, the commission asked us to look at the option of using Raymond Road as the access way to gain access to lots 4 and 5 rather than Redmond Street that we had proposed in our notice of intent filing. So to that end, we went out, I rechecked the wetlands flagging, we had the surveyor go out, and we basically designed an access road to lots 4 and 5 coming off of Raymond Road. We then met out there with conservation staff and talked about the layout. When we looked at the alternative of using Raymond Road, it wasn't black and white whether Raymond Street or Raymond Road provided less intrusive access. That if you look strictly at bordering vegetated wetlands, using Raymond Road did reduce the alteration of bordering vegetated wetlands by about 1,000 square feet. If you added in, though, the impacts of buffer zone alteration and your local riverfront area, the original proposal, which was Redmond Street, did not alter any of your local riverfront area, and it had buffer zone impacts of about 10,000 square feet for the roadway. When we went back to look at Raymond Road, we altered about 10,300 square feet of your local riverfront area and 50% more buffer zone. So we were at about 15,000 square feet of buffer zone. At that point, we decided to look at the impacts of the work proposed. And because the access roads come in at differing elevations, it changes the way that you develop lots 4 and 5. Well, neither alternative requires any additional alteration on the lots of bordering vegetated wetlands. The amount of fill that is brought onto the site in the Raymond Road alternative is probably 3 to 4 times greater than the amount of fill that would be required on the Redmond Ave alteration. And the impacts of this are several. One, there's the traffic coming in off of a residential street, bringing in these truckloads of fill. Two, you're changing the grade significantly on the lots, which provides far greater alteration of buffer zone on the lots than you would have had if you had less filling going on. And we looked at all of these combined impacts together and felt that, from our perspective at least, the original proposal of Redmond Ave was reasonable when you looked at the impacts of coming in off of Raymond Road. To that end, we have gone back to our original proposal. We submitted an analysis to you earlier last week that outlined our thought process on this, and I think most of you have that in front of you. It has a couple little tables that talk about the square footages of alteration that would be required and the impacts associated with each access point. The second issue that we went forward with between our meetings was we reached out to the DEP to talk to them about the potential of doing the land gift rather than the traditional mitigation for the loss of bordering vegetated wetlands, that rather than creating a replication area, we would gift the town a 1.7 acre parcel of land that we own in this vicinity. And I believe John Healy was copied or was sent a copy of the note that we forwarded to the DEP, but we have not heard a response back yet. So I don't have a definitive answer for you either way on whether DEP would be willing to entertain this or not. But in short, my argument to them was that as a limited project, which this project is under either alternative, you have the performance standard of replicating wetlands to the extent possible, which is different than the discretionary 5,000 square feet of alteration also talked about in the regulations, which mandates replication. So when we hear back from DEP, we'll continue that aspect of our discussion with you. And it may be the DEP decides definitively in one way and there's nothing for us to discuss. But in any case, that's where we are with that aspect of the project.
Ms. Trudeau, could you just said, just one last thing you said just a minute ago. You said something about that in one case, the replication would be required, something discretionary. Could you go, do you know what I'm talking?
Yes.
You know,
If we
could you
came in,
explain that again?
yes. If we were not a limited project, say we just preferred crossing wetlands to get access to our lot, but we had upland access in another area, we would not qualify as a limited project. We would be filing under the provisions that allow the commission to use their discretion to grant permission to alter up to 5,000 square feet of bordering vegetated wetlands. In that section of the regulations, you are mandated to do 1-for-1 replication. If you use that discretionary 5,000 square feet of alteration, you have to replicate. The limited project language is less rigorous. And I think that's because there are situations that you might not have room for a replication area, but the state did not want to consider a wetland crossing and the failure to be able to replicate to be a taking. That their language is a little looser, and it says to the extent reasonable, I believe, you should do your replication area. And that's where we're asking the DEP to make the interpretation. That is it reasonable to, did you just lose me? Oh, here we go.
No.
Is it reasonable to ask for replication when we have an alternative plan that could benefit the locust as a whole? And we have argued to them that the creation of the bordering vegetated wetland replication areas would cause increased damage to the buffer zone areas and require the removal of mature upland forests from this area.
All right, so I understand you now. So you're talking about the difference between the discretion under a limited project as opposed to the discretion given to the commission to allow an applicant to alter the wetlands and having to replicate.
Absolutely.
Okay, that was helpful. Thank you. Good explanation. I guess for me, the second time was good.
Okay, yeah. I could try it again. We'll see if we get
No,
it.
no, please,
Okay.
you nailed it. Don't damage it.
Okay.
All right, so Mr. Romero, or Ms. Etzel, or anyone else who is for this project, do you want to say anything more about this, or should we?
Yeah, yeah.
continue?
Yes, if I could, Mr. Chairman. So we did visit the, one of the things that came up last time was about, we hadn't done any soil testing on site. So one good thing about coming from Raymond is that we actually can access the site without having to cross the wetlands. So we did do that. We went, we accessed at the end of Raymond Road, and we were able to do test pits, and we ended up doing quite a few test pits. And as you would expect, we found high groundwater in many locations. Although we did find sand and gravel, so it's very nice soils, grade A, class A soils. We did find a couple locations where groundwater was kind of low. And so our new plan actually shows a location where we have a proposed infiltration system, which is in the lower groundwater area, and it actually works with our drainage. So again, as Mary explained, coming from Redmond Street, we have about 200 and some odd new feet of new pavement, and we're going to put catch basins at the very end, and that will go out to the infiltration system, which is actually behind the house at number 5. And that works out pretty well. Again, it's just great sand and gravel, and we have lower groundwater there. So we did find a good spot for it. And so this alternative seems to work out better in many ways. The drainage, and as Mary explained, less intrusive to the site. It's a much smaller footprint, half as much new pavement, and it doesn't really affect the lots that much. The lots are still accessible either way, but the drainage worked out very well this way. The one thing we are going to have to add is we do have to have a culvert because we do have a stream crossing, but we are able to stay with the road anyway, completely out of the regulated streams. So we think this is probably the way to go. I think this is the way we'd like to proceed.
Okay. Anyone else, Ms. Etzel, or anyone else? Okay, you're muted, Phyllis.
I don't
No,
think she wanted to talk.
I don't have anything else to say at this time. I think we're looking for your comments.
Right, okay, thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
all right. So, so to clarify, the Redmond Street, for the commission's benefit, the Redmond Street alternative is the one you submitted to DEP and are asking for sort of the ability to substitute land for replication. Is that correct?
Yes, we did mention that we had looked at the Raymond Road alternative in our correspondence with DEP, but we did not show them that roadway. We just told them our assumption that it was not any less invasive an access road. So all the DEP knows is that we're coming in off Redmond Street, which is what we had originally proposed.
Okay, thank you. All right, John or Eileen, I'd like to give some comments to everyone here, to the commission.
Sure. First thing, Mary, I didn't see that letter to DEP, so if you could resend it.
I'll forward it to you as an email.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So basically, what this whole exercise is an alternatives analysis. The commission has to require the applicant prove under a limited project application that there is no alternative access. So the whole exercise of looking at Raymond Road was to evaluate whether or not their original proposal was actually the least impactful to resource areas, and they couldn't access it without doing less impact. So the wild card on this is that we have a regulated stream, which the Raymond Road access would be within the riverfront area of. DEP probably doesn't really care about that because it's not a perennial stream. It's one of our regulated streams that it's almost certainly not perennial. It's a direct tributary to Sandy Brook. So as far as the Conservation Commission goes, I would agree on balance that the access from Redmond is less impactful to resource areas than the access from Raymond. So I would agree that the Redmond access is probably preferable. As to the wetland replication, so I think once again, the issue isn't so much the limited project, it's the 401 water quality certification, and I think DEP probably has less discretion on that since it's essentially a federal permit, but we'll certainly wait and see what DEP has to say on that.
Okay, John, do you see any issues to draw the attention of the commission to?
I don't. We still haven't, the commission still hasn't really walked this site. They briefly walked in and looked at the Raymond Road access. And then Eileen and I haven't really thoroughly reviewed the delineation, and we'll hopefully be able to do that soon, early March, hopefully, if all the snow's gone. I guess maybe Mary's thinks I'm optimistic.
I know, I'm laughing. There's a lot of snow.
I know, but it could disappear fast, and all we need is some skunk cabbage to burn away that snow. So, I don't really have any other concerns now.
Okay, so we've talked about this a bit. Let's go to see if there's any comments at this time on what they've heard or what they know about the project from the commission. Gail?
Larry, do you want to go to us before? I think there's some abutters here or for this.
If the commission doesn't mind, it sort of reverses what we normally do by
All right,
having
it
no
doesn't
objection.
matter. I didn't know what you were planning.
No, that's fine. Why don't we do that, since you must think it's a good idea, Gail, since you brought it up, possibly. All right, are there anybody outside the commission, anybody residents of Burlington that would like to introduce themselves and say a few words, whatever? So far, we haven't gotten into details yet, but would certainly welcome to hear, would like to hear from you.
Hi, Linda and Jim Unsworth. We're actually at the end of Raymond Road. You can't hear us?
What's the address, please?
17
19.
Raymond Road. So just so we're clear, Raymond Road is off the table? This extension is off the table at this point?
I'm not sure we can say that definitively, but these people are presenting a case that it would be less impactful to stick with Redmond Road in terms of what the commission oversees, which is impacts to natural resources.
Okay, so just keep an eye on the meetings and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and you folks are on 17, you said, Raymond Road?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You're certainly welcome to monitor as this develops and contribute to the discussion or submit comments in writing as well. Okay. So I think we're still early in the process. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment outside the commission? Okay. Gail, would you like to resume?
So, so we're just commenting on the alternatives now. Is that because there's not a whole lot of because there, we don't have like any kind of wetland replication plan here, and been trying to, and I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth, and I'm actually trying to look at the plan blown up, and I'm having a little bit of problem following some of the lines and distinguishing them from the contour lines. But am I correct in that house number 5, that it's inside or outside the 40-foot no structure, don't build?
It's outside the buffer, that 40-foot no
But
structure.
it comes right up against it, right?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And then the 20, are they both outside the 20-foot?
Yeah,
Both 4 and 5?
yes, they are, yeah.
Okay, but the riverfront looks like it hits the corner of number 5, is that correct, the 200-foot?
The 200-foot hits the corner, so that house is basically squeezed in there between the 40-foot and the 200-foot and the zoning setback, so.
Yeah, so my concern about like this kind of like shoehorn type of strategy is that these homeowners are going to have to commit to living inside their house and on the deck. That, they're not going to be able to do anything in any kind of backyard or anything there. You've got that little bit of space there, but that's an incredibly limited property.
Well, they have a backyard. They can use their backyard. They can't build any more building in the
It's
backyard.
not very big, and I just from experience that it's very limited. That's all I want to say. It's incredibly limited. But so those are things I'm concerned about. I'd like to get some information. So you plan on putting a culvert where the stream crossing is? Is that correct?
Yes.
And where exactly would that be when I'm looking at this plan?
Yeah, I think he's put the arrow in it right now. It's
Okay, let me go back
there's a
to
rectangle there with an arrow. That's the culvert right there.
right there. Okay, so I'm actually going back and forth because I can enlarge it where I can actually that on that's not me on my thing. So I see it there. All right. Okay, I'll have to look at that again. So I guess, I think it's going to be a challenge in terms of, I'm not in favor of filling in wetlands, that's for sure. And I just find this an incredibly challenging site, and there's going to be need a lot of detail if this gets approved in terms of, how the work is going to be constructed. So because you're right against the 40-foot no build zone, you're right against the 200-foot riverfront, how you're going to grade this and bring in construction equipment and so forth. There'd have to be a lot of detail about that, but it's just pretty concerning to me that this proposal. That's all I have to say now.
Okay. Indra.
Can I just address what Gail was talking about, the crossing? So my preference would be to put in retaining walls for that crossing and greatly reduce the amount of wetland fill. However, their intention is to have this be an accepted public way, and Tom Hayes, the town engineer, is opposed to retaining walls within the right of way. So you can see the erosion control boundaries are at the all the way at the boundaries of the right of way. The erosion controls are, is that a 30-foot right of way or 40-foot?
It's a 40-foot.
40 feet. So it's 40 feet wide wetland crossing. It could certainly be much narrower if there were walls, but unfortunately, I couldn't convince the town engineer to go for that. But speaking of the town engineer, I would recommend that you talk to the town engineer about the culvert.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to have comments about the culvert. Right now, it's a proposed aluminum culvert.
Yeah, I suspect they'll want concrete.
They may want a concrete, yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at we did provide a detail sheet, and you can see it on the detail sheet. You can see a kind of a rendering what it's going to look like. It's a very low profile. It's only about, let's see. It shows what it looked like at the face. It's only about 2.5 feet tall, and it's pretty wide, and it's got an open bottom, so the stream will be fairly natural. So that's what it will look like if you look on the detail sheet. Give you an idea what the stream crossing is, and that's what they require. They require something that doesn't have a bottom, and that's why it's open. It gives you enough open space for the critters to come back and forth. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
That's it. Sorry, Larry, to interrupt.
All right. Okay. All right, so where were we with Indra?
Yes, what I heard that it would be less impact, but definitely this would be very challenging. And we have to look into this because there is a stream crossing, as John mentioned about the retaining wall. So we have to look into those things and let's see how it goes. And is how much is less impact? David, can you tell how much is with less impact, the area you're talking about?
Area-wise, it's much less coming from Redmond Street. We're only about 200, a little over 200 feet of pavement. Coming from Raymond Road, you'd have over 400 feet of new pavement. And we're also impacting.
David, you put up a chart. Are you the one that put up a chart of the areas before?
Yeah,
maybe
that's there.
Maybe that's useful.
Yeah, you can see that gives you the areas that actually, you see alternative to a Raymond Road will have almost twice as much buffer zone impact. We won't have, with the road anyway, we won't have any stream protection zone impact at all with Redmond Street, whereas we will with Raymond Road. It's a given that we're definitely filling more wetland with Redmond Street, but overall we think the footprint is much smaller impact using Redmond Street.
Okay.
So David, when you say stream protection zone, you're talking about the riverfront area adjacent to the stream?
Yeah, talking about the regulated streams, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay.
Bill?
Thank you, David.
Indra, you done?
Yes, I'm done. Thank you, David.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bill? Comments?
Yes, I agree with the term Gail used of shoehorning something into this location. It seems to me you're trying to cram two houses in where nature just doesn't want them. I'm questioning the elevations of the infiltration system, the basement floors, the same kind of comments I made in the last meeting. I see wetland flags at elevations of 146 and 148 on one side of the drawing, 142 on the other, and you've got the infiltration at 137. You get basement floors at 141. I just don't see how it's going to work well. The infiltration system, are you planning to artificially fill in order to raise the floor of the infiltration system to create the 2 feet of space? No. You need to. When were these test pits done?
Just recently, we were out there with the Board of Health was out there with us, and
Okay, so it wasn't done during the drought.
No.
Okay.
We just did them end of December, beginning of January.
All right.
Pretty wet, actually.
Yeah. And I'm a little bit concerned about understanding the street runoff in detail. Perhaps you could go over it a little bit to explain where it's going and the driveways and the street runoff.
Sure, yeah. So it's the street's going to go directly straight down from where we're extending it down to the very end. And there are 2 catch basins at the very end of the street. And the driveways themselves are also going to be going down into the road. Okay. And we're proposing slope granite curbing all along the roadway to control the runoff. And the 2 catch basins at the end of the road will collect the stormwater. And it will direct it out by pipe out to the infiltration system, which is, again, out back where we did have very nice test holes out there. And again, all sand and gravel, beautiful material. And we found a very, very good location for it. And that's what's on the plan. So it's really a pretty simple system. Just two
Okay.
catch basins, a manhole, and we're also added a water quality unit. I know that was discussed at the departmental meeting. So we added a water quality unit as well. So it's quite a robust system and it's pretty simple.
Is there a second infiltration system I'm seeing attached to house number 4?
The houses themselves will have their own infiltration system. And yeah, we have its own little system out on the side
That's
for the house.
rooftop only?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see elevations on that one to see how it's going to function. At the very dead end of the street that you're putting in,
yeah,
what is going to be there? Will there be something there to prevent runoff? Hopefully the grading would do that, but what about like snow dumping and leaf dumping? And a lot of times at the end of these dead end streets, people take it as sort of a free-for-all to stuff over. And
Well,
right into, I mean, it dead ends right at the wetland line.
Right. It will be. It actually is not the dead end line. It's actually going to be graded down to the wetlands. The pavement itself is going to have slope granite curbing, so that will stop the runoff anyway in the roadway area. And then it's about a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 slope down to the wetland area from that. That's what we're proposing right now.
Okay, I'm concerned about, people stuffing snow or dumping leaves and stuff like that, where it really does come very close to the wetland area.
Well, something we might think putting up maybe a a fence for a limited work fence or something along closer to the end of the pavement to keep
I would recommend that.
to keep a buffer away from the wetlands. Sure.
I did have a question on the width of the street. Your document states 2 different widths. It says 16 feet, the minimum allowed in one place. The detail shows 20 feet. What is the actual plan?
It's 20 feet wide.
It is 20, okay, because
Yes.
the alternatives analysis in the beginning states 16 feet, the minimum allowed.
Yeah,
So you might
that's a
wanna-
typo. That's a typo, yeah.
And
Yeah, the planning board wouldn't allow anything less than probably 20 feet's the minimum they would allow.
okay,
Yeah.
those are the questions I have at the moment. Overall, I do not like this project. That's all I have.
All right, Jennifer?
Well, I'm glad Bill said it first because I also don't like this project. And I definitely agree with Gail that I think we're setting ourselves up to fail by having homes with incredibly small backyards that we're going to end up having to give violations to later and ask them to put up fences and barriers so they're not mowing and going into wetlands. So overall, while I appreciate the efforts of the team that's working on this project to put together some alternatives and to come up with some different ideas, I definitely appreciate that. Just to echo what Gail said, I do not like, that we're going to be filling in wetlands to put in more houses. That just goes against the grain of everything that we do on this committee. So it'll be interesting to see where the other groups that are looking at this come up with, but overall, I don't really care for this project and we'll most likely vote against it. Thanks.
Okay, Ed? Can't hear you, Ed.
Well said, Jennifer. That's one of the things that I was concerned about overall. It's just attempting to put something in wetlands always goes against the grain. And Bill kind of hit on what my first concern was going to be. Where's the water going on the dead end of the street? So he covered that too. So that's all I had.
All right, Kent?
Nothing really to add. I think Jennifer hit it all. I think that it's a good point about like you're kind of setting up about for future violations. That's a good additional point.
All right. John, I have a question before I ask for any other comments. The 5,000 in the regulations, could you clarify, is that discretionary whether we allow it or not? If the wetlands crossing and the need for replication, is that discretionary under the regulations by the commission?
So wetland filling up to 5,000 square feet is discretionary for the Conservation Commission. If the commission decides that it does qualify as a limited project, actually the 5,000 goes away. You'd actually be allowed to permit more. Replication is required for non-limited projects. For a limited project, wetland replication is discretionary.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So let me just say, as far as the Bill articulated his concern over the infiltration system and the revision and the elevations. I actually had the same concern. Have Mr. Romero, have you folks submitted the test pit results to us? And well, let me ask that question first.
Yeah, it's in the stormwater report.
Okay, I
And
have
we,
that right here.
and it was witnessed again. The Board of Health was out there with us to witness the test holes.
Yeah.
And I think, I know it's a little complicated to read the plan, but if you read the plan, the groundwater is down in the location where we show. We have sufficient room to put in our system.
Does that include, Mr. Romero, does that include estimated high groundwater concentration in the spring based on soil modeling and stuff?
It is, yeah. We have a soil evaluator goes out there, and he actually does it per the soil matrix, and he looks for the modeling, and also witness what the groundwater is at the time. He classifies the soil, so it's a total soil evaluation that he performs, and so again, we feel pretty comfortable that what we found is pretty conducive to what we're proposing.
All right. And let me ask you this, John, what is the criteria that determines whether we accept it as a limited project? Could you clarify that at all? Or I can ask Ms. Trudeau to do that.
Typically, the limited projects were set up for things that didn't quite meet the regular regulations. There are limited projects for agricultural use. There are limited projects for logging. This happens to be a limited project that allows access to uplands when there is no upland access to this area owned by the same applicant. So you have, the state did not want to get involved with takings. That if they didn't want someone to say, well, you're not letting me get to this buildable area at the back of my lot, so you have to take the whole property. They didn't want to deal with that. So instead they created a limited project that said, you have the right to access uplands that are in your ownership when you don't have upland access, that you can fill wetlands for that specific purpose. So you typically have to prove that you have no other reasonable means of access that would provide for less wetlands alteration. You also have to prove that you have not owned a parcel of land at any point in time that would have created upland access to these lots. And that was to discourage people from selling off their good upland lands and then coming forward with a wetlands filling application for the more marginal parts of their property. In this particular case, Bob Murray has never owned areas that would have provided upland access because this area is surrounded by wetlands. It's an island. It literally is an island inside of a wetland system. So again, we don't have an issue with that part of the test. The commission has the discretion to accept it as a limited project or not, but I think that the department would uphold it being a limited project because we don't have an alternative means of access that is an upland crossing, that we only have wetland crossings to get to this. And Bob Murray did not own land that would have had better access to this that he sold off.
Okay, so what I understand you to say is that you folks are confident that this will be taken as a limited project, and upon appeal, even if we decided to not accept that, DEP would uphold that based on the site constraints.
Yes, there is one qualification to that. The DEP typically likes limited projects to stay under the 5,000 square feet of fill, and they would look at that test as well, and we have done that. If we could not have done it, they still would be able to consider it as a limited project and approve it, but they do have guidance that urges applicants to try and meet the 5,000 square foot threshold. But we have done that.
So let's, for the sake of the commission, let's assume for a moment that that this project is a limited project, just for argument's sake.
Yeah.
And let's assume for a minute that we had some people express the view that they of course don't like the project, which I don't mean of course, but they don't like the project because of a couple of reasons. One is because of, one reason was given because of the potential for having small backyards and the likely future expansion. I don't think we can make a decision on that basis. I don't think we regulate stuff on that basis. We've encountered this all over town. So I'm not sure that that's a good way of looking at it.
No, typically you're not allowed to regulate things that might happen. You can
Right.
only regulate things that are proposed.
Yeah, so essentially I'm agreeing with you. So yes. The second reason people have said they don't like it is because the nature of the project is sandwiching two houses in an area that's very small and has problems. Regardless of whether you can articulate the problems or not, is it fair to say, anyone can argue with me and it's fine, that we may not be in a position to arbitrarily deny it for cause or not cause? Is that?
Absolutely. DEP does not have some of the rigorous tests that the Burlington Conservation Commission has. For instance, you have the 20-foot no disturb zone, and then you have a 40-foot zone that you are not allowed to put a structure in. The DEP does not consider either of those two factors. So to DEP, this looks like a very different lot. This lot 4 and lot 5 look like buffer zone alteration projects, and I don't think they would have any issue at all. They do not require stormwater management because these are single family lots and the subdivision is less than 4 units. The one issue that we have asked DEP to weigh in on is the roadway access. Is it a limited project crossing? And if it is a limited project crossing, are we mandated to do replication or can we do the land gift?
John, but we do have the ability to deny the project if it doesn't meet our regulations. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so if the objection of the commission is generally you don't like the project, that may not be enough to sustain that decision in a number of venues. If the commission denies the project, and I'm not saying we're down that path, I'm just trying to understand what our discretion is. If the commission denied this project based on not meeting our regulations, I think that's perfectly within the purview of the Conservation Commission's decision-making. So with that, I have one more comment, but before I go on to it, which is entirely different, I'd like to ask anyone in the commission want to comment? I don't even know if I made total sense, but go ahead.
So I have a question. This is Jennifer.
Yes.
So Larry, what you're saying is that one of us, or would it have to be you, could make the motion to deny the project, but it would have to be based on something that's within our purview. And are we in a position to do that tonight, or would that be later?
Oh, no, I don't. I personally, you can make that, you can certainly make that motion, but I just personally, for my one vote, would think we're not nearly in that position yet. Not even close.
Okay.
Bill, or Indra, or Ed, or Kent, or John or Eileen, any comments?
I think it's going to be a tug of war between, I don't know, ethically, whether this is a developable lot. I mean, it's a natural, nice site with a lot of water and wildlife and not really inviting to try to cram two houses onto. And that's one side. And the other side is going to be by the rule of law and regulation. It may meet the letter of the definition. It's going to be a difficult battle in my mind.
Yeah, all I tried to do, Bill, was clarify on what basis you would have a sustainable denial. What our discretion is in that regard. I was just trying to flush that out because I was confused myself.
A few weaknesses that I see right now is we still need some kind of a ruling from DEP apparently. And the 5,000 square foot issue, you're fairly close to it at something like 43 or 4,400 square feet. I mean, I'd have to be convinced that those calculations are correct and not, estimating on the side of a conservative to make it work. I'd like to see some calculations that show clearly where those numbers are verified.
Okay, Gail, you have anything further?
I was just going to say that, no, I agree that we obviously have to, follow guidelines and so forth, but, and I'm not trying to suggest that we're, just going out with emotions. Even if our restrictions are stricter than DEP, then, we created those restrictions and that those bylaws for a reason. And that I think we should, think about them in terms of those bylaws and restrictions that we put up, which include, some of the things that everybody's mentioned.
Right. Yeah.
I think we are meeting
agree
your
with you, Gail. Okay, Ms. Trudeau, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think we are meeting the performance standards of your bylaw. We are not proposing any alteration within 20 feet of the bordering vegetated wetlands. We have kept all of our structures 40 feet away. We are not entering your 200-foot riverfront area. The lots maybe have constrained yards areas, but there's nothing in your regulations that says a usable yard area has to be part of any project. I don't think that there are any regulations anywhere that say that.
No, right, but there is wetland filling and there is a stream crossing.
Absolutely, yes. The road is clearly a jurisdictional issue that we are still working with DEP and hopefully with you.
Okay, well, that discussion, the purpose I brought it up is just to flesh out more detail under what basis, what our discretion was and what basis there would be for people to vote against it. That's all I was.
So Larry, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
And I just wanted to say one thing that, having, I will also need to see a construction and grading plan for this. They are so tight to our limits that I need to see some plan of how they're not going to, cross the no disturb areas and so forth to build these houses because they abut right up to it.
Okay, good point, Gail. Thank you. All right, I had one more comment. I noticed on the plot plan and the drawing, little sketch here of the right here, that you have assuming that the 1.7 acre would be considered as an alternative, as a donation in lieu of replication. I would be interested in, that would give us, we have 8.1 acres nearby. We have 1.7, the proposed, and then we have 0.9 that is part of something already being done. I assume that's the McSweeney Way thing.
Yes.
I think it would be interesting when I looked at it, if the 1.7 acres is offered, it would be interesting to look at that parcel in the context of the other conservation areas that are already either planned or there, and perhaps take a walk, but unfortunately, and really take a closer look at it. Because if we're asking the commission to accept the 1.7 acres, I think we should perhaps take a closer on-site look of what we're accepting. Anybody agree with that? But
Yes, that definitely would make sense. It would help, get all the information and what we're getting for what we're giving. It'd be an important consideration.
right. And right now, unfortunately, it's probably not a good time to go out in the snow and
Yeah.
really see what you got. Okay.
I have a
All right,
question.
that's all.
I had a
Yeah,
question
Bill.
about 20-foot no disturbs. There's a 20-foot no disturb that sits there now. Once you fill a wetland, does that redefine the 20-foot no disturb to now where the new wetland boundary is after the fill, or does it stay where it was originally as far as, putting in other features?
It's a good question.
It will change. It will run with the new wetland line. So yeah, it will change.
Right. I don't think you would.
And can I just remind the commission that we did submit plans that show grades, that show detail of all the lots, the grading, what the elevations are going to be. I don't know if you have the small plans, you can't read them very well, but we did submit full-size plans showing all that detail.
Right. All right. So I'd encourage the commission to take another look at it. Phyllis, are you talking?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Thank you. Nope, you're muted again, Phyllis.
For what it's worth, I just wanted to remind everyone that this is an existing roadway. Redmond Street is a paper street. And also there are 2 existing lots. We're not creating lots. So these are already existing lots. And I guess I just wanted to remind you of that.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Larry?
All right. So is
Larry?
Larry?
Larry? So I'd just like to remind everyone that this is 3 separate hearings and 3 separate orders of conditions you'll be filing. So we've discussed the whole project as if it's one, but
Yes.
you'll have to decide each one of these orders of conditions on its own merits. There's one for the roadway that has all the wetland filling. The 2 lots are buffer zone projects. So it's completely possible, to have different decisions for different lots, but just keep that in mind, that there's 3 different decisions that are going to have to be issued, or 2 decisions for each of those filings, a bylaw decision and an order of conditions.
All right. Thank you, John. I would suggest, given some of the comments, that people take another look at the full-size drawings. Mr. Romero, are there things in here in the drawings that are going to change other than the location of the infiltration, which you said changed? In other words, are new drawings needed on, or any part of the new drawings?
No, you should have an up-to-date plan that shows everything up to date, and I don't see any changes from that right now.
It's the original filing we got with the big drawings, right?
It's actually everything's updated. Brand new stormwater report. The plans are new, based on the new soil testing. So it's been modified a little bit, updated. So it's about the same.
Well, what I'm talking about is the full-size drawings.
Yeah, the full-size drawing you have is all up to date.
Well,
Dated February 1st,
not all
right?
the commissioners have necessarily received paper copies. They have
Dated
received
February
all the
1,
other
yes.
The February 1st, yeah.
Yeah.
If you would like me to deliver additional paper copies and stormwater reports, I will do that. Last week I delivered 3 sets. And also I would like to mention that the letter to the DEP was included in that. It was an email, not a letter per se, it was an email to Rachel Freed and another person at the DEP that Mary sent to them regarding the donating the land in lieu of replication. But I did deliver 3 sets of full-size plans, the new stormwater report from David to go along with the relocated infiltration, a copy of Mary's email to the DEP, and a copy of that GIS plan that shows the land we are proposing to donate, plus it also shows the land already under control of the Conservation Commission. Now, I delivered 3 sets. If you would like enough sets for each one of you, please let me know and I will deliver them.
Yeah, I'd like to say, I would like, given the comments that I heard about Graydon and the closeness to the 40-foot and the riverfront lines, I don't think you can really, people who express those comments can really look at it without getting the revised plans. The plans I have are the original plans. I never got a revised full-size plan, which oftentimes I don't want, but in this case, it might be useful.
Yeah, I think we should hand out full-size plans to everybody.
I would think so. I don't know where the 3 sets went. And also, let me tell you that they were put online into Viewpoint. So you can look at them on Viewpoint right now, but I will deliver more sets. You should not be looking at the original
I've all
submission.
received the updated electronic ones, Phyllis.
What was that, Eileen? Could you say
They
that
have
again?
all received the updated electronic ones. So
Okay.
that you know. And there was a paper copy for Larry, but I mean, just since we're not open, we haven't coordinated with him to get them to him, I guess.
Well, just tell me how many sets you want and I'll deliver them.
All right, I'll take one.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right,
We'll
I
get
would be
one for all
happy.
the commissioners.
Indra would like one.
Yeah, we'll get one for all the commissioners. We'll make
I'll
them
just
all.
deliver you 7. How's that?
Yeah, if you want to do that, I heard we need 2 at least.
Okay, why don't I just deliver 1 for each of you?
That would be fantastic, Phyllis. Thank you very much for doing
We'll
it.
do that.
Thank you.
Appreciate
That was really good.
I'm a little old fashioned, but I enjoyed flipping paper.
Me too.
Easy to look at too.
Right, it is. All right, so is there anyone else in the audience who would like to make a comment on this? All right, so there's no one from the audience on that. Okay, so are you continuing until the 25th, Phyllis?
Sure, yes.
Okay, could I have a motion to continue?
Excuse me, so why the 25th, Phyllis? What could we do before? What could happen
You
between
know
then?
what, you're right. We're going back to the planning board next week. The 25th, maybe we ought to go to March.
We're supposed to look at the wetland line, right?
Right, so March 11 would make more sense.
It would, you're right. Thank you, John.
Okay.
All right, so we need to do 3 motions because it's 3 separate hearings. Could I have a motion to continue the hearing for the Redmond Street roadway DEP file number 122-646 until March 11th, 2021?
So moved. Indra.
Second.
Second, Ed.
All right, let's go through this. Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. So the Redmond Street roadway is continued until March 11th, 2021. Could I have a motion to continue the public hearing for number 4 Redmond Street DEP file number 122-645 until March 11th, 2021?
So moved, Bill.
Second.
Second, Gail.
Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
All right, the chair votes yes by a vote of 600. Number 4 Redmond Street is continued until March 11th, 2021. And lastly, could I have a motion to continue the public hearing on 5 Redmond Street for DEP file number 122-644 until March 11th, 2021?
So moved, Gail.
Second.
Second, Ed.
All right, Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So by a vote of 600, number 5 Redmond Street is continued until March 11th. One last question before you folks go. Was there a list of anything that you heard tonight that you folks need to provide before the March 11th? Obviously, the decision, hopefully have the decision by DEP on accepting land in exchange for the we'll hear from that. Is there anything else that any of the commissioners said they want? Yes, Ms. Trudeau.
I think that Gail asked for a construction sequencing plan to show how we would build this project.
Okay. All right.
And this is Bill, I wanted to see some better definition of the calculation of that we are indeed under 5,000 square feet.
Okay.
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 Definition of what, Bill? The
Well, it's fairly close to the 5,000 square feet. I want to see each element,
okay.
you know.
The disturbance, definition of the disturbance here.
The square footage.
Detailed calculations, right, Bill?
Yeah, yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Bill. Anything else?
So I didn't see the test pit logs in the stormwater report, David.
I
So if
just
you
looked
could-
at that and I owe you the logs, okay? They're on the plan. The results are on the plan, but I'll get you the logs separately.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, I see 3 things. Anything else then? Aside from the DEP decision. Okay, so it looks like we'll see you on March 11th, and everyone will be looking at the detailed plans between now and then, I'm sure.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for your time and attention.
Good night.
Good
folks.
night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
All right, so now we're on administrative things. We have planning board comments. John, anything, or Eileen? Do we need to do anything there?
I don't think so. The planning board has 174 Middlesex on. But I think we've already commented to them after the last meeting, so we did.
Okay. All right. A review of proposed conservation restriction for jumbo storage site on Wheeler Road.
So I distributed that to you previously. So this is sort of the final draft that's getting ready to go to the EOEA for approval. The Board of Selectmen gave their approval to it Monday night. If you give your approval, then Raymond Bronstein can send it to the state for approval. Then it can come back for your signatures.
All right, is there a motion, and then we can discuss it. Is there a motion to approve the conservation restriction for jumbo storage site on Wheeler Road?
So moved, Gail.
Second,
Go.
is there a
Second,
second? Thanks, Bill. Okay, so is there any further discussion on it? Anyone have an issue to discuss? All right, Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, 600. The final draft of the conservation restriction for jumbo storage is approved. All right, next is Public Lands Preservation Act. John, do you want to make any comments on this?
So I just put this on as an agenda item just because it's back. It is in the new legislative session. The House has a version. I think the Senate may have a version by now as well. And
Yes,
I
they
know
do.
some of you have already contacted your delegation who have been supportive. So hopefully this is the year.
Yeah, I wrote to both our state rep, Ken Gordon, and He will agree to co-sponsor it again. And our state senator, Cindy Friedman, say, thank you for helping me keep on top of this. I will get right on it. And she said, I will support it. So hopefully, I think that meant that she'll sign on as a sponsor.
I
Anyone
got the
else?
same,
What did you hear, Ed?
very much the same. Yeah, I had a meeting with Cindy last week and she's definitely behind it.
Great. Anyone else? All right. So hopefully by getting it on early in the legislative session, we won't have to wait until the final negotiations the night before. And maybe it will pass this time around. Does anybody not know what the Public Lands Preservation Act is? I'll be happy to give you a 2-sentence rundown. Okay. All right. So next is the upcoming meetings, February 25th, and the next meeting is March 11th. Other business. Any commissioners have anything else, John?
I just have a quick one. So that Harris Lane conservation trail has been made. The company that did the construction, they actually have a sign up, which is kind of nice. I assume they plowed it or did something, John, because it's something, the snow is, you can walk in very easily. It's not like high snow or anything like that, and it's quite wide. There are a couple of bikes that I could see when it, so I just want to make sure that, that it's not being abused, I think they plowed it to access it, maybe, I don't know, but it's definitely, something's been done to it since it snowed. I think, on the list, that of course will need some signage, but it's, you might want to look at it. It's quite wide, the entrance. Like you could park lots of cars, but.
I'll check it out. So yeah,
Okay.
I mean, we can't put signage there until it's actually
Right.
ours.
Okay.
I asked them to put temporary signage up while
Yeah.
it's still their property.
Yep.
But
There's one sign up at the construction site and one sign at the new entrance, but. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Trail
Great,
was made by our land management intern and one volunteer, just the two of them. In fact, mostly just the intern, all on his own.
Awesome.
All right. Anything
just
else
remind
from
me-
anyone? Anyone else?
One thing,
Can I just remind the commissioners, Larry, that for you guys to come in on Tuesday morning to sign the signature sheets because we're off on Monday,
Okay,
and they won't be ready tomorrow.
great. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Ed?
just heads up that I had discussions with Rick Bowman, who's the facilities guy for Oracle. They are going forth with a whole campus lighting reduction throughout the entire area, and especially the garage, which will shut down except for motion detectors. We requested that ourselves because it's becoming a Christmas tree over there. And also with the trustees wanting to not light up the whole park so birds can now at least feel free to sleep at night. So he's definitely off for it, and it should be completed now. So I have to go up at one of these nights, evenings, just to make sure that they've met exactly what they said they're going to do.
All right.
nice.
Thanks, Ed. That's real nice. Let us know. Anything else? Kent, Indra, Gail, Bill? Would anyone care to adjourn the meeting? A motion?
So moved. Gail.
Second?
Second, Indra.
Okay, Gail, do you want to adjourn?
Yes, please.
Indra?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yep.
Just said, yes.
Okay, Jennifer, did you say yes?
Yeah, I said yes.
Okay, Ed said yes. The chair votes yes. That's unanimous by a vote of 6-0-0. The meeting of the Conservation Commission is adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good weekend. Bye.